Have you ever had that feeling, where an idea just hits you and it clicks?
I think it just resonates.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's like your brain's making connections you didn't even know were there.
It's like a multi-layered kind of experience.
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of feeling we're going to be diving into today.
Exactly right. Today, we're going to turn our focus to the intriguing world of Bob Camblin.
Bob Camblin,
Yeah.
an artist, and I think this is really interesting. He is deeply respected by fellow artists, right? And really dedicated collectors.
Yeah.
But his work and his thinking remain, I don't know, surprisingly unexplored by kind of a wider audience.
Enigmatic is a great word for him. He's got this vast body of work. I mean,
Yeah.
oils, acrylics, watercolors, drawings, prints, even painted paper, you name it.
It's almost like he was afraid to, not try something.
Yeah, it's all over the place. But then there's this almost ghost-like presence in the market.
Yeah.
It's really strange. When his art does appear, it gets snapped up quickly, sometimes for some pretty remarkable prices.
I was looking at some of the prices, and I was like, wow, okay, this is serious stuff.
Definitely.
So that's kind of the mission for us today, right?
Exactly.
You've given me this incredible collection of material on Bob Camblin. We've got excerpts from his writings,
Yeah.
a really fascinating PDF called Bob Camblin Quotes and Other Mysteries.
Yeah.
There's a biography, too, that really gives us an image of the man himself. Then we've got insights into a specific piece of artwork. We'll get to that later.
Yes.
That's through a YouTube transcript and a book excerpt. And you've also given me some great historical context with some reviews and forewords that I think are going to help us understand his place in the art world.
That's our goal today, really, to navigate through this really rich material and try to understand the core of Camblin's unique vision.
Yeah.
We want to offer you, the listener, a direct path to understanding this really complex and captivating artist, what motivated him, what he was trying to communicate, and why his perspective might still be relevant to us, even today.
All right, so let's just dive right in. I want to start with Camblin's own words. This Quotes and Other Mysteries PDF, it's fascinating. Really throws you right into the deep end with these seemingly random thoughts.
Stream of consciousness, almost.
Yeah, like take this one. Fortunately, some things remain forever, or another 10 years, perhaps. It's funny, but also, right away, you're thinking about how temporary everything is.
There's a sense of humor there, but also a really deep reflection on time, and our perception of permanence. What do we really think is going to last,
Yeah. And then you get something totally different. Look into the atom, you get what you need. Look into magic, and you get what you need. Philosophy and art are in both. So what's that about?
Well, it's like he's wanting us to rethink the boundaries between things that seem completely opposite, different ways of understanding the world. Like, he's not afraid to connect science and mysticism, and saying that both art and philosophy, they both come from the same, human need to understand things.
Then there's this longer one. I will stick with common sense and try for the perfectly average view of the universe. I think that will let me enjoy miracles on both sides of science and magic and the nuances of the smear between the whiteness and the blackness, and hope that I can be around when the two meet in the near future and we have an intensely bright gray. I love that image of everything, coming together in this kind of gray area.
Yeah, it really shows his deep desire for balance and not simplifying things, embracing complexity rather than these rigid categories. It's almost like he's being playful, with the perfectly average. But it's really about being open-minded and being receptive to all kinds of possibilities.
Here's one that's a bit more direct. The sixth sense is to be, without a doubt, senza dubio, no doubt. This feels like it's about intuition, that gut feeling that sometimes you just know something's right.
Yeah, he's talking about that inner knowing that goes beyond just logic and reasoning. It's a reminder that, hey, not every valuable insight comes from, purely rational thought.
And then he gets almost poetic. Step off the train of thought. To find the power that is no power. To do the work that is not work. To laugh the true laugh. Bending is not bowing. It's like a riddle, right?
Absolutely. It's like he's giving us instructions on how to reach this deeper truth, to find a different kind of strength. And it all starts with letting go of our fixed ideas and preconceptions. That's when we can discover this natural power that flows effortlessly,
Yeah. And then this one is interesting in its simplicity. When you think, don't act.
Yeah.
When you act, don't think.
That really speaks to mindfulness, being fully present in the moment, whether you're in the world of ideas or actually doing something. It's like a musician completely absorbed in playing their instrument. They're not overthinking every note.
Right.
They're just in the flow.
Yeah.
Camblin seems to be saying, be present in both thought and action without one interfering with the other.
Oh, and this one's very Camblin, I think.
Yeah.
Much better than arguing is to look at my watercolor palette. I love that. He's basically saying that art and quiet observation can give you a much deeper understanding than arguing ever could.
He's choosing art and contemplation over, well, conflict and debate, finding understanding through seeing rather than just talking.
And then he says this, "Well, that's enough about me, Mother Nature. Let's talk about you. What did you think of my last picture?" It's like he's talking directly to nature.
It's like he sees nature as a creative partner or maybe even an audience. It's a really unique perspective for sure.
And then boom, it's like he hits you with some common sense. You never miss the water until the wells run dry. It's like a universal truth about appreciating what you have.
Absolutely. Even with his abstract thinking, Camblin was very grounded in everyday human experience.
Okay, last one from these quotes. It's a real mix. "When understood, all truth is funny. Don't let the demon of being right get in. Flow and think of what you are doing, not what you plan to do. Step off the train of thought."
It's a great summary of a lot of his ideas. Don't take yourself too seriously. Be present and let go of rigid thinking.
So even just looking at these few quotes, you can see these recurring themes, right?
Definitely.
This fascination with time and how fleeting everything is.
Yes.
The surprising ways that things connect.
The search for balance, the power of intuition, the importance of being present.
Yeah, it's all there. And it gives us a glimpse into how Camblin saw the world, how he approached art, and how he lived his life.
Exactly. These quotes offer a unique perspective into Camblin's world.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and look at Camblin's biography.
Okay.
Just to give us a little context for his ideas. So he was born in Oklahoma, and then his artistic journey really began at the Kansas City Art Institute.
Right.
But it sounds like this Fulbright scholarship he received to study in Italy was a real turning point for him. The Uffizi Gallery, with all its Renaissance masterpieces, I can see how that would be influential.
It was a deeply formative time for him.
And then something that kind of surprised me was the impact of the Capuchin catacombs with
Yeah.
all those, skeletal remains.
It's interesting, isn't it? He was exposed to the highest achievements of art, and then also this stark reminder of death. It seems both had a profound impact on his artistic vision and his philosophy.
So he comes back to the States, has a teaching career at various universities, and then in 1976, he makes this radical decision
A big one.
to live a nomadic life. He decides to dedicate himself completely to his art, supporting himself through selling his work and commissions, and he travels extensively, Italy again, France, Ireland, Mexico, even the South Pacific. It just speaks volumes about his commitment to his art. Like, he believed that real-life experiences were the fuel for his creativity.
It was a big choice, for sure, reflecting a deep need to immerse himself completely in art and to find inspiration from all these different cultures and landscapes, and all those travels, they definitely broadened his horizons and influenced the themes in his work.
And this is interesting. The drawings and writings we're looking at today, this material from 1950 to 1974, it was never meant for the public.
Yeah, it's like we're getting a really personal, unfiltered glimpse into his creative process.
So what was his fundamental artistic philosophy? The bio and these book reviews give us some clues. It sounds like he wasn't about fitting into categories or chasing commercial success.
Right.
His art was about connecting directly with the viewer, making them think without needing lots of explanation.
Exactly. He wanted a more intuitive response from people, something that resonated on a deeper level, maybe even subconsciously, rather than just intellectualizing everything.
And his style evolved quite a bit. He started with abstract impressionism, but then developed what he called his mouches volantes style.
Interesting name.
It means flying flies, right?
Yeah, literally. Think about those tiny specks you sometimes see floating in your vision.
Oh, right.
Camblin took that fleeting, random visual experience and made it into art.
And this style was inspired by Dada and surrealism, which, for anyone who might not be familiar, were art movements that really challenged traditional art.
Yeah, absolutely. They were all about embracing the irrational and the subconscious.
Camblin's technique used these clusters of dots and dashes to create optical illusions, kind of like a visual puzzle. It's like he was playing with how we perceive reality.
Definitely. It shows his willingness to experiment and push boundaries. He was a true innovator.
And it's worth noting that he was a big collaborator, too.
Yeah.
He worked with Earl Staley and Joe Tate under the name B&E Productions, and he often signed his works as anonymous.
That's so interesting, right? It's like he was downplaying the individual ego and emphasizing the creative act itself. It really says a lot about his values.
And then there are these drawings we've been talking about. They're described as intricate puzzles with hidden meanings. He even built in what he called data problems, codes, little narratives, even deliberate traps and dead ends.
It's like he's inviting the viewer to play a game,
Yeah.
to decipher the meaning and question their own assumptions about reality.
Okay, I want to dive deeper into a specific artwork now as a case study. The piece is called Proposal for the Future. And it's interesting because it's mixed media. It combines watercolor sketches, diagrams, and handwritten notes.
A real blend.
Yeah, and they're all exploring these themes of pathways, traces, nature, and, that fundamental search for meaning. Visually, it's quite striking. You've got this watercolor map of, like, intersecting terrain.
Okay.
And then these abstract sketches that look like icebergs and tracks or footprints. And alongside all of this, you've got these handwritten fragments of text, just little snippets of thoughts. It's definitely got a layered feel, both visually and conceptually.
It sounds like a rich tapestry of images and ideas.
Yeah, and the YouTube transcript and the book excerpts we have offer some fascinating interpretations. They connect the artwork to Zen philosophy. You know how Zen emphasizes the journey rather than the destination?
Right.
Well, they suggest that the scattered nature of the artwork reflects this idea. The traces left behind, the impermanence of the floating icebergs. It's all very Zen. It's like a jazz musician improvising, just going with the flow.
Yeah, the beauty lies in the process itself, in the exploration and discovery.
And they even link it to the I Ching, specifically the hexagram can. That's the one that represents water.
Okay.
And it suggests that we should approach difficulties with inner calm and adaptability. They see all those sketches in the artwork as representing different paths or potential outcomes.
Yeah.
It really adds another layer of depth to the piece.
It's like he's using these ancient philosophies to inform his art. The I Ching, with its focus on change and the interconnectedness of everything, fits perfectly with the idea of a proposal for the future, doesn't it? It's a process of uncovering different possibilities.
The transcript and the excerpt both suggest that Proposal for the Future embodies a calm brainstorming process, almost meditative, very much rooted in a Zen perspective. And this relates to the concept of wu wei, which basically means effortless action.
Right.
It's about letting things unfold naturally, trusting the process, just like that quote we talked about earlier. When you act, don't think.
Exactly. Being fully present in the creative process, not forcing things, just letting the ideas flow.
And the connections go even further. They talk about the I Ching's hexagram 19, which is called approach. It symbolizes moving forward with an open mind, being receptive to new possibilities. And they also point out those partially visible icebergs. They suggest that those represent the unseen forces at play, the mysteries that lie beneath the surface. And then they bring in the Tao Te Ching with its emphasis on the journey, starting with a single step, and the fluidity of the Tao. It's like he's weaving all these philosophical threads together.
Yeah, he's showing us how these different traditions can offer insights into the creative process and the human experience as a whole. It's really fascinating.
Another thing that's visually striking in this piece is the contrast between the tracks, the paths, and then the empty spaces.
Okay.
It seems like a balance between reflecting on the past and being open to the future. The tracks could represent, our experiences, the lessons we've learned,
Yes.
and the blank space could be potential, the unknown.
It's like a visual representation of that tension between looking back and moving forward.
Right. And this idea that creativity comes from being receptive to ideas as they emerge, not needing to have everything figured out beforehand. And those annotations, they invite the viewer to engage with uncertainty. It's like he's saying, it's okay not to have all the answers.
He's encouraging curiosity and exploration rather than just seeking easy solutions. It's a much more rewarding way to approach art and life, I think.
Okay, so as we try to put all of this together, what are the big themes, the overarching ideas that define Camblin's work? We've touched on a lot, but how does it all connect?
I think one of the most prominent themes is his fascination with paradox. The review of Art of Everything talks about those traps that do not trap and structures that stand but do not move. It's like he's using paradox to challenge our thinking, to shake things up and make us look at things from a new perspective.
It's like he's saying, hey, let go of your assumptions and see what happens.
Exactly. And this approach has connections to the evolution of art, the shift from realism to abstraction. And the foreword to Zen and the Art of Enlightenment talks about the links between these movements and Eastern philosophies like Zen and the I Ching.
Hmm.
Intuition, interconnectedness, the cyclical nature of things, those are all recurring themes in Camblin's work, and they're all deeply rooted in these philosophical traditions.
And it's not just about passively observing his art, it's about actively engaging with it, questioning your own perceptions, and ultimately discovering something new about yourself.
Yeah.
It's a portal to heightened awareness, as that forward puts it.
Yes, he's encouraging a more active and engaged form of viewing, one that leads to self-discovery and deeper understanding.
And I think that's a great point to end on. For our listeners who are all about learning and exploring, Bob Camblin's work offers a rich landscape for continued reflection. It's not something you just glance at and forget. It stays with you and makes you think.
Absolutely. It rewards repeated engagement and invites you to develop your own personal interpretation. It's a journey, not just a destination.
So here's something to think about. How can embracing ambiguity and things being unfinished, whether in art, in your ideas, or in life itself, lead to a deeper level of understanding? What trains of thought might you need to step off of to discover something truly unexpected and insightful? It's a question worth pondering long after this deep dive is over.
It is. It's a question that can guide us all on our own journeys of discovery.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Bob Camblin. Until next time,
EQ.
bye.